Pretty matters on this week's episode of Implicit Bias. And man, sometimes I just wish that we rolled through all the breaks and took some of those things and made them like spot things here and there, because we got to pretty matters. Caleb was talking about once you've seen hummus made that you don't want to eat it anymore. And then somebody here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL said something like, well, wine is made the same way. And they said, oh, attractive young Italian girl or attractive Italian girl can make my wine any day. She can step on my grapes any day. And it just went south from there. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. This is Implicit Bias, first week of December. And man, we've got a fantastic show for you this week. Great crew here in the TSPL. Renee Girard, Louisiana's only certified master tobacconist. We're going to get a Stogie of the Month from him before the show is over. We've got Triple H at the bar with him, Brian Harmon. Caleb Morse, the rustic renegade. Walker in the corner, nursing a hangover. It has been tons of fun so far here this week. But pretty matters. We said it, we meant it. The big differentiator here is just please remember that pretty should never replace the actual value of a human being, because you can be beautiful on the outside and an absolute holy terror on the inside. Caleb, you mentioned the golden ratio as to what just affects us. So the first premise that I think we kind of need to get underneath with this is there are some things that no matter who you are, human beings find universally attractive, correct?
Yeah, and so the golden ratio goes back to Leonardo da Vinci, and even before that, it's 1.618. So it refers to just a mathematical equation for a distance between the eyes and the nose and the chin, and so forth. And it lays out this perfectly symmetrical diagram for the human form, especially the face. So when you get to like me, where you have a deviated septum, it throws it off, all that kind of stuff. But when you look at historically, the people that were in power all followed the golden ratio. When you look at our actresses and actors and everyone else, when you think of the most attractive of them, when we all talk about it or whatever, they follow the golden ratio. And this golden ratio is just been scientifically proven to instill, I guess, trust. You want to trust them more. You're more trusting of them. You believe them more. You question them less, and you follow them blindly because of the golden ratio.
Okay, but I guess here lies my question. Are we following a genetic marker? Or are we following
I think, well,
the actual people and what those people have historically instilled in other people?
Yeah, and I think it's more of a genetic marker because
I'm with you.
You know, just because someone has this ratio or is an attractive person doesn't mean they're a good person. And there are people that I've met in my life where they are genuine good people, and they're not easy on the eyes. And there are genuine like bad people that I'm sure are easy to the eyes. I mean, I've never seen Satan, but he was God's worship leader, and he was an attractive person, held a position, and the gemstones from the armor of God were within him, and he would reflect the light of God, which we would all deem as attractive, and sin is attractive.
I would actually argue that physically attractive people probably have a higher tendency to err on what we would deem as the bad side of things because they can get away with more.
That's a very valid point.
They can physically get away because their smile will get them out of trouble.
Oh, charm.
Right? Their charm makes things happen easier for them. Life is just a little bit easier because it is within our nature to recognize physically attractive attributes. I mean, the bar want to chime in here? That would be a no. Okay.
Well, it's hard.
Renee's too busy drinking. Brian's like, I have no idea.
You know, it's hard to stay humble. And, you know, if you live a Christ-like life, you want to maintain the humble status and remember that all glory goes to God and not to you. And if you're an imager of God, we're all attractive and unattractive because that is God's persona, whatever that is. But there are many, many people that just use their charm, their grace, their good looks or whatever, and that's their status.
Well, and there's a lot of people that go, ooh, shiny. You know, it's just, and, you know, you see a lot of guys, they see a woman and go, oh my God, that's just, but go talk to her. Oh my God, you wouldn't have a conversation with that.
Yeah.
There's empty.
Well,
it's
it go-
empty inside.
And it goes
And
for-
there are
for
plenty
men
of
the same
physically
way. Yeah.
attractive guys who, I mean,
Yeah,
you look at a
same
guy
thing.
and you're like, man, that dude's probably an underwear model. And you talk to him and you're like, all right, what's your name? And he goes,
yeah. Or
and
you
that's
know,
it.
he come to find out, you know, he's not a trustworthy person. He's
Not even
you know,
close.
he's a. I don't know if I can say this on the air, but he's a douche.
Yeah, you can say that on air.
I
It's
think that
okay.
word, yeah.
It's okay.
Walker didn't hear it anyway.
Yeah.
But now here's the fun part. And I say fun with all sarcasm. Look at the people who we choose to follow a lot of times as a society. So we establish that a lot of people who are physically attractive and pretty matters, who maybe are not the best people, who maybe are allowed to get away with a lot of things, now go look at the people that we say, oh, they're so charismatic. Oh, that person is so nice. That person's so kind. Oh, that person, they're amicable, they're nice, they're good looking, they're attractive, right? And even down to the messaging. Oh, their messaging is so kind. Their messaging is so gentle. We don't want to hear the ugly truth. When the ugly truth, a lot of times, is what we need to hear.
Well, hold on. I had an epiphany.
Uh-oh.
Did it hurt?
If pretty matters, then why is the View still on the air?
Well, they got a couple of
Wokeism.
pretty ones. There's a couple of them that are pretty. They're brain dead, but they're pretty. The rest of them, yeah, I don't know why they're
Okay,
still there.
I'll tell you why. Because it is the messaging masked as pretty messaging. If you even, I mean, think about taking the whole pretty and what we're allowed to get away with down to the, this is the kind way to go. This is the nice way to
They're
go.
putting a bow on it.
They put a bow on the messaging and say, oh, we're the morally superior, right? We're the ones that are kind because you're Nazis. We're not.
Well,
And there are people who believe this.
I mean, it goes back to, you know, all these commercials you see and everything. They hire pretty people most of the time.
Yeah.
And pay them good money to make commercials, and you believe it. Oh, or they'll do these what do they call them when they go out and pump their movie?
The press tours.
Yeah, press tours. You know, they talk about the guys sit there and they interview them and try to get a little personal with them, and they all have these nice stories. And that when you come to find out they're scumbags, but you know they never present that because it doesn't sell the movie that well. So you got to sell what they're doing.
You know, that's a valid point because what was the guy? He was in a ton of horror movies and was not an attractive man.
Oh, Robert Englund.
That's his name. yes.
I thought you were going to
From
say
Friday, the Nightmare on Elm Street.
And
Yeah,
he
and
never
he's a
he was never
super-
the face of the movie.
but he played Freddy,
Yeah,
who was the main character.
yes, and he's from what I understand, he's a very
Yeah,
nice
he's
guy.
a phenomenal human being.
Right.
But he was never the person that went out and promoted the movies.
No.
And he was in a ton of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They did. I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 of them.
Oh yeah, they had like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 375. I mean, I'm just waiting for the next one to come out because I'm sure there's another sequel coming. But this dynamic, I think, allows us to get fooled a lot of times because it just does. Pretty matters,
Yeah.
and it makes it easier on some people when maybe they don't deserve it. Makes it harder on some people when maybe they don't deserve it. But here's the flip side of this. Pretty to a point has to matter. And here's why I say that. A couple of gentlemen in here own businesses. The person you hire represents your business. And there is a pretty that you want being the face of your business. Doesn't have to be supermodel, but it also can't be Grok the troll that climbed out from underneath the bridge 30 seconds ago. What, Caleb?
I wasn't prepared for that.
I'm in trouble.
Whiskey was in my nasal cavity.
I'm in trouble because I'm the pretty face. We're in bad shape, man.
No,
You know, I got my daughter that works for me, so you know.
yeah, no, you but-
but she knows her stuff.
You
But it's
play
not-
your cards that were dealt very well. I notice you're on the radio a whole lot. So.
Yes,
But no,
exactly.
the whole point being, it doesn't have to be a supermodel that's representing your business, right? It doesn't have to be somebody who was gifted by God with just angelic looks. But they also can't show up representing your business in a way that you don't want it represented.
Right.
Right? I
Right.
mean, you can't have somebody show up and Renee, if your standard is no gauges, no facial tattoos. I mean, and it's not anything
is.
against somebody with facial tattoos, but
It's a
if that's what
standard.
your standards are,
That is a
if that's
standard.
what your pretty is, you've got to have that pretty.
Yep.
Well, it goes back to when you look at high school, right? The popular kids in high school, you look at them now, and most of them are 3 times the person they were back then.
Literally, like you put them on the scale, they're 3 times that
Yeah.
person.
So-
It's true.
And I wasn't a popular kid, I don't think, back in high
Right.
school. You know, I was a nerd of sorts and did my ROTC thing and all that. All I wanted to be as a soldier. But your physical attributes do have a certain amount of marker that
Yeah.
carries weight. And it's really hard to overcome them with aptitude, with knowledge, with honor, integrity, and so forth. But once you overcome that stigma with these very favorable qualities, man, it opens up a ton of doors.
And to be fair, the more attractive you are, the less that you have to worry about those markers in a lot of ways. The farther you get to the other side of the spectrum, the harder it becomes to overcome all of those things. But the reality is, it's about what's on the inside, even though pretty does matter, and you need to have a set of standards. You know what? Your standards just have to abide by your implicit bias, which means that we're coming back for another segment.